We will tell you a story of the past that reflects on our present and future. The story starts in the place that most people who live in Vrsac know very well, in the city park of Vrsac. This time we will take a look at it from every angle and watch it from different perspectives. You will realize that City Park in Vrsac has very rich history and that is much more than a simple place for taking walks.
In the second half of 18th century, there was an inn with a garden which people of Vrsac liked to visit. The property was owned by Scherber family, so that is why the garden was called the Scherber Garden. In 1797, the property was sold to the municipality of Vrsac, but citizens still called it the Scherber Garden until the World War I.
After the Hungarian Revolution in 1849, there was an initiative from municipality to turn this garden into the park, so planting of the trees started. The most responsible person for that was Andrija Vasic, who was a city councilman at that time. In 19th century, respectable citizens of Vrsac suggested the ideas for arrangement of the park and organized performances. In summer, theater plays were organized, pastry shops were built, and the benches were assembled. The park was fully decorated with flowers. In 1883, the Association of Vrsac City Park Fans was founded. One of the founders of this association was a famous Vrsac historian, Felix Mileker. This association reached a great popularity among the citizens of Vrsac. At that time, the park was constantly arranged and it grew in its size. This was possible due to the income from performances, which was directed towards arrangement and park's growth.
From this golden era of the city park, there is the amazing fountain, which is now 121 years old. I'm sorry that you cannot see it now, because it is covered up. But if these four ladies could speak, I'm sure they will tell us a lot about past centuries. The fountain takes the central position in the park, and it is its true ornament. It is a composition of three water nymphs with the central figure of water carrier, surrounded with the figures of frogs which were added later. Before the fountain was assembled, 22-meter deep well was dug, which was used for water supply. The water tower was also built.
In the period that preceded Music Pavilion was made, it played a great role in cultural life of the citizens. We were fascinated to hear the stories about active periods of this pavilion when the string orchestra played and entertained the people who passed by.
It is very interesting to know that at the very beginning of 20th century there were 4 tennis courts in the park for the needs of a tennis club. And there was also a part of the park designed for a skating rink and football playground, which were removed in 1920 and instead of them ornamented plants were planted.
During the World War I, the park was neglected because the activities of Association of Vrsac City Park Fans were stopped. In 1920, the park goes through the period of Renaissance. A new plan for rearranging the park was created, which improved its infrastructure by introducing plumbing and lighting. That was the period when the music pavilion was renewed, the fountain was reconstructed, and the new sculptures were placed. In the period of the World War II, the park is neglected again. According to some stories, while the fascist army was withdrawing, they hid their tanks below crowns of the trees. There are several important busts in the city park. A bust of Nikolaus Lenau, a poet who wrote in German. Then a bronze bust of Serbian tribune in Hungary, Dr. Svetozar Miletić, made by Peter Semyonov. In the beginning of Chestnut Alley, there is a bust of Jovan Sterija Popović, which was a gift from famous architect Dragiša Brašovan. Near the entrance gate, there are busts made in the 50s of the past century. These busts, made by Ekaterina Ristivojev, present Anđa Ranković, Živa Jovanović, and Sava Munćan, who all fought in national liberation battle.
The arrangement of the park in the 19th and the beginning of the 20th century was left to the skilled gardeners. One of most influential gardeners was Heinrich August Adam. And in the 20th century gardening was passed to Sieber family. Joseph Sieber was the last gardener from Sieber family.
The story about Josef Sieber is the story that few people know, but still it is very interesting story. His superior, Heinrich August Adami, sent him to study horticulture in Germany in 1941. Later, Dr. Josef Sieber became a university professor and also a vice president of the World Federation of Rose Societies. He was one of the most famous rose breeders in the world. He created around 1,000 kinds of roses. His last selection of roses created big, fragrant, and pale flowers without thorns. At very touchy ceremony in Vrsac in 2006, he simply named his last selection of roses Vrsac. He passed away 5 years later in Germany.
Tall deciduous dominate the park, but there are conifers as well. The kinds of trees which can be found here are ginkgo, fir, spruce, pine, plane tree, oak, elm, chestnut, maple and birch. Boxwood is mostly used as hedge and it can take different shapes.
Today the city park lost a great deal of its past beauty. Some trees grew old and became weak. It has been used for so many years that the characteristics of the soil changed. Near the park there is a road with frequent traffic, so the soil in the park is exposed to the constant pollution, especially with heavy metals. Some plant species are attacked by disease. There are also some rare species that are extinct now. We must preserve what we have and realize the value of this natural oasis which is so near the city center. Because of their value, we should keep every plant, sculpture or bench in this park. There are no longer tall white benches with creeper roses where our ancestors used to sit. If we learn to sit peacefully and listen to the nature, we may hear something that will surprise us and make us think. We may hear a voice of our ancestor or a poet which gave us an important lesson.
We are sitting on the bench below Lenau's chest. We are kissing, and by the way, we are speaking about the verses. We are speaking about verses, and we are, by the way, kissing. The poet is watching somewhere through us, through the white bench, through the pebble on the path. And so he is silent, with his beautiful copper lips. In the city garden of Vrsac, I am learning slowly what is the main point poem.